We build these businesses to allow ourselves flexibility, and then we put ourselves in our own cage of what we have to do again. But I want you to redefine, what does finishing strong look like to you? Well, hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. This is not a normal podcast episode. This is like a little bonus episode. This is a finish out the year 2023 episode. This is just like a love letter from me to you for the end of the year. So I told my team the other day, I wrote a post on Instagram and then shared it to Facebook. If you follow me in one of those two places, thank you so much. But it's pretty typical for how I feel every year about this time. And I told my team, I'm like, let me just do a quick bonus podcast episode, for lack of a better way to put it, because there's some women that need to hear this. And I know that I have 3 guys that listen to my podcast, and maybe this is appropriate for you too, but for all of you women who are listening, sometimes it just helps for us to feel like we almost have permission. And so if you're in need of permission for a different way of finishing strong in 2023, this is it. Okay. So here's one of the things that I shared on social media. I really it just burns my butter. I really dislike all of the posts in December that really, they make you feel almost awful if you're not pushing harder, finishing strong. Don't let up now. Your goals are within reach. They're push, they're do more. They're don't let up in December. And they just, when I start seeing those, I start feeling a little antsy on the inside, not for me, but for my clients, for you guys, for those of you that are on social media, because there's such a inundation of making sure that you finish almost exhausted, give it your all, leave it all on the court type of mentality, which then immediately will shift to, let's start setting your goals for 2024, folks. Let's make sure that they are completely unattainable and, and dream big and all the things. And I think it's just, as a believer, I want us to just think differently, both about how we finish a year and also how we start a year. Okay. One of the things that I've always told women who are in my coaching groups is the way that you finish one season will inevitably be the way that you begin a new season. It will. So in terms of if you're about to leave a day job, leave that day job with honor, with respect, with integrity, the way that you would want someone to leave you, because the way that you leave that is how you'll start your own thing or how you'll start a new job with someone else. Make sure you're finishing a season well. And what's interesting is we as humans, we look at the calendar, we put so much emphasis on shifting from one year to the next. It's interesting. We're fascinated with the idea of time, the alarms on our clock and the seasons changing and how we shift the calendar from one month to the next, 1 year to the next. God's way more concerned with timing instead of time. But I know that it just makes sense. If we're going to make some shifts, if we're going to make some plays, if we're going to, want to say yes to some things or no to some things, it does make sense for that to be at the end of the year and as we're shifting from one season to the next. But what I really want to make sure is that we're focusing on the right things as we're finishing the year strong. Okay. The reason I dislike those posts about pushing harder and, giving it everything you've got and laying it all on the mat is because I think that entrepreneurship and being a business owner is just so full of pressure anyway. It's so full of pressure. And then you've got lots of well-meaning coaches who are coaching their clients, they're adding pressure. It's pressure on top of pressure, friends. And so I think we really need to examine, in a world that's telling you to go all out, just, with everything you've got from here to the end of the year. I wonder if that's really appropriate, necessary, the smartest thing for you, the bravest thing for you. Should you push hard till the end of the year? You know what? If you have the capacity, amen, sister, go for it. If you have it in you to push, go. It is not this girl. It is not this girl. This girl will be doing zero pushing till the end of the year. When you think about finish strong, finish the year strong. Well, can we redefine what finishing strong maybe should and could look like? Because for me, finishing strong would mean that I'm finishing the year feeling super rested, that I'm finishing the year having taken care of myself physically, that I'm finishing the year really like centered and peaceful, that I'm finishing the year being super present with my husband and children. Like finishing strong doesn't have to mean 14-hour workdays. It does not have to mean another launch between now and January 1st. It doesn't mean, more sales posts, more emails. Like that's, I think, what the insinuation is from a lot of times when we're seeing the content about finishing strong. But I want you to like redefine, what does finishing strong look like to you? Because for me, it is not hustling my face off. It's just not. It will never be. I have never coached women to be that way, to behave that way. That is never going to be the advice that you get from me. I think it is tragic that so many of you business owners have worked your tail off all stinking year, only to be hearing well-meaning coaches trying to get you to work even harder over the holiday season. That's tragic to me. I think it's insane how many women in particular can hustle their faces off, but literally cannot allow themselves any downtime. And whenever I see that, I'm like, okay, I wonder why that is. What are people who, or let's just say workaholics for the sake of, making it easy, but for people who are they're working through the holidays, for they're working when the truth is they tell themselves they really need to and they don't. Okay. Like I do know there's some seasons where you have to push. Like I get that, right? I get that for some of you, you're selling a product and you need to make sure that you're, having a big boost in sales this fourth quarter. Like I totally get that. But if you don't have to be working so hard, but you're choosing or telling yourself that you should or have to, okay. Have to is not a real word, but I'm going to use it in here anyway. But like, I wonder, like, what are you running from? Who are you hiding from? Like, why on earth would you work so hard the rest of the year and then not allow yourself like a couple of days to rest at the end of the year? Like, it makes no sense to me. We build these businesses to allow ourselves flexibility, and then we put ourselves in our own cage of what we have to do again. And I just want to encourage you to look at it differently this year. You do not have to race to the end of the year. You don't have to send out more emails. You don't have to be present on social media every day. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do in your business. Now, there could be some consequences because of that, right? Like if you decide, you know what, I'm going to just be off social media from now till the end of the year, well, your reach could go down even further. I mean, there could be consequences, but that doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. And so I just want to encourage you ladies today, like, don't fall for the lie that even though this is, in fact, the most lucrative quarter of the year, and even though this is the month that, in fact, most online business owners can make more than any other month, don't fall for the lie that you have to do more, push harder, race quicker, any other things, okay? I think we each need to make a choice of whether we want to pause or push during the season. And in different times, different things are appropriate. I did a podcast episode. It was Monday Fire number 46. So if you literally Google Jennifer Allwood, Monday Fire 46, that podcast episode will come up for you. It's not here on YouTube, by the way, if you're watching me on YouTube. It is only on, wherever you listen to podcasts. But I literally talked about how you know the difference between seasons when you're supposed to pause and seasons where you're supposed to push. And for those of you who really want to pause right now and you're just not sure if you can or you should, can I just be the one that says, please do. Please do. Because the way that you're going to finish this season is also the way you're going to start the next one. The way you finish this year is the way that you're going to start next year. And I think sometimes we need to figure out, like, what is the goalpost? Is the goalpost exhaustion? Is that what winning looks like? Because that to me is not winning. Nobody wins when mama or wife or friend or daughter or whatever is literally just beside herself with overwhelm and exhaustion and being burned out and all the things. And so I want to encourage you, as we're winding down this year, to really like look at what's making sense for you. What are you feeling like the Lord's wanting you to do? What is going to make the most sense for you and your family and your heart and your peace? And then do that with no guilt, okay? There is, it says in the Bible, we're to pursue peace. And every time I see that scripture, I think that means I have to chase peace almost. Not in like I'm running a race, but in a, like, I have to be intentional. Like peace is not just going to fall directly into my lap. And so if I want this season to be full of peace and I want to be surrounded by friends and family and I don't want to be exhausted and I want to be, present and at peace and I want to be full of love, joy and peace, all those things, like I'm going to have to be intentional about pursuing that. And you are too. So do whatever you feel like you're supposed to be doing in your business and for your circumstances, for your family as we end out the year here. And then what I want to just remind you of is feel no guilt about it. Feel absolutely no guilt about it. And when you can do that, that is what I want you to consider finishing strong. You're rested, you're at peace, you feel like you're doing what God's wanting you to do for you and your family. You're not falling for the pressure of the online space. You're not chasing the dollars. You're chasing Jesus. You're doing what makes sense for you and yours. And that to me feels like winning. So I hope that this was super helpful for someone today. I felt really strongly that I was supposed to do this special podcast episode. So if you have been watching this on YouTube, if you would let me know if this, touched a heartstring for you today, if it resonated with you, I would appreciate that. Please share the podcast though, if you would, with someone that maybe needs to hear it. If you're a business owner, you know 10 other people who are business owners too. And I guarantee you there's a couple of them that could really use a different message this holiday season. So much love to you, my friends. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Do you ever use these funny things that I say? Because I think I'm funny, Easton. If you don't think I'm funny, I think you're not paying attention. Because I think Mom's funny. Okay, you ready?